Twisted Metal has quite a few boss fights. Some of them are genuinely a good challenge, loads of fun to learn, practice, and overcome. Others, like Cousin Eddie, are brain dead easy and makes you question how is this even a boss fight in the first place. Then there are the bad ones. Bosses no one looks forward to fighting at the end of your tournament run since it's not engaging, drags on and on, feeling more like a chore rather than you playing a video game. Today we are going to talk about that side of the spectrum. And when I say worst boss fight, I don't mean Cousin Eddie level like how is this even a boss, I mean it as in why is this something I'm required to do every time I turn the game on because of how irritating this said fight can be. It's really hard to decide because there's a few stinkers in the series in the boss front, so let us delve into the world of terrible boss fights in Twisted Metal. With Twisted Metal bosses, the one that I'm very vocal about is Snorhawk, Boarhawk, Warhawk, whichever you want to call him. This boss fight is boring, regardless of how big of a fan of Black you are. I don't see you being able to defend this battle as something amazing. If you could bottle this fight up and sell it in the store shelves, it would put NyQuil out of business. Boarhawk is the first automobile with a propeller, flying through the air, raining down missiles on you. It will come off as intimidating at first, like, oh wow, this is so cool, what a unique battle, this is going to be so awesome. And as we all know, we wait for the Bowser Jr.'s to come out, blow them up near Snorhawk 3 times to destroy his shield, then shoot him until he dies. It does seem straightforward enough, which it is of course. Killing Warhawk is not that difficult once you get the pattern down and understand what's going on. My issue with this battle is how it drags on for an eternity. Sometimes the Bowser Jr.'s don't want to do their job and go towards the center platform, and yes, I know you don't need the tankers to be in the center platform, I'm just saying that since it's typically the easiest place to hit Warhawk. Maybe Snorhawk will destroy a tanker and you need to wait for another one to respawn. Keep rinsing and repeating this process over and over again, which becomes very mind-numbing, especially if you do more than one character playthrough in a single sitting. Needing to restart the level is even worse. Say you're close to the end to kill his little bully and blue ass, but you get smoked. That means you have to do all that bullshit all over again, making this fight really boring. Minion is fine, but Warhawk is just not a good fight due to how tedious it is. Another massive issue with him is that you cannot use certain character special weapons on him reliably, making it even more of a chore. Brimstone is a perfect example of that. Hitting Warhawk can be really irritating trying to get a certain angle right, which causes this fight to be even bigger pain in the ass for some people to deal with. It's quite rare for me to find ones who actually enjoy this battle, and if you do, I'm genuinely curious of why. I've been playing through all the characters on stream recently, and after the second or third playthrough, I'm just done with it already because I don't want to battle this asshole. It's not engaging, it's not fun, it's not even a challenge, honestly. You spend more time waiting than you do playing the game. Waiting for Snorhawk to go in the middle, waiting for tankers to spawn, waiting for his barrage to be over. It's just so damn tedious and boring. Sure, there are ways to work around this if you know all the tricks, but that doesn't take away from the gratuitous amount of sitting around required to win this battle. With all of this being said, is Snorhawk truly the worst boss battle in this franchise? I wouldn't say so, since there are some characters who can rip him a new one really fast, like Sweet Tooth for example. Sometimes things can go your way, making the fight go by really quickly. He definitely is up there on the shit scale, like don't get me wrong, he smells like shit. Do not get me wrong on that. I just think there are some who are far worse, especially the two everyone and their alligator always thinks of when it comes to a bad Twisted Metal boss fight. Iron Maiden and Carnival of Carnage are two prime examples of trying to be over-ambitious with something. With Snorhawk, maybe I can see how people would like it. Of course, that's me being very generous, since a part of me wants to put these 2012 fights above Warhawk, since I genuinely cannot stand the Boarhawk fight. Of course, these are all not good, none of them are, they all smell terrible. We are digging deeper into the infernal hellhole of the Twisted Metal boss world, so what do you expect? All of these are gonna suck. When it comes to the Iron Maiden, you're required to follow a few steps to win the battle. These ones being more expansive, and it's something you'd expect, of course, looking at this thing. Running it down quickly, you need to destroy a red hearse labeled on the map, drag a dead body to this contraption here. A side note, like, what is this thing even supposed to be? I honestly don't understand who came up with this nonsense, but whatever. Sacrifice the little person into this machine, they turn into a missile, or sorry, they turn into a nuke missile, excuse me. You need to control this said nuke missile, avoiding the Iron Maiden shot so it will not be destroyed. After this step is completed, you are then required to follow Iron Maiden around, shooting her as you normally would with any typical enemy, as long as you stay within the designated zone. After that phase, you are then transported to a bridge, shoot her until she dies again. Of course, you get punked and need to destroy her head, similar to Darktooth from Twisted Metal 2, which then ends the battle. Honestly, I don't find this fight to be that bad. A lot of people always immediately say, oh, this fight sucks, this is the worst thing ever, which of course it does. I just don't think it sucks to the levels people put it on. It's surely in the Warhawk territory of being annoying, especially the first section. If the missile gets destroyed, you need to keep going back and turning these people into nuke missiles, and then it becomes really monotonous after that. When you know what you're doing, it's not terrible. On Twisted difficulty, obviously this will be much harder because you die a lot faster. Again, it's 100% doable. At least there's a variety in what's going on. Things change up enough to the point where you're not sitting there waiting for Warhawk to stop shooting or tankers to cooperate with you. There's constant action, so you're always doing something. I'd put this fight above Snorhawk, to be honest with you. It deserves to be mentioned here. I just think there's a few fights that could be a little bit worse than this one. The other I mentioned was Carnival of Carnage, and I don't really know how to describe this one if you haven't played it, because the only part I would actually call the boss is the ending. But some may consider the entire level a boss fight. There's some stupid mini games, a little clown-ass bomb thing where you need to grab a clown and drive it into a head 3 times. It's nothing crazy, you just don't fight anything, nor is this part fun, so I don't get why it even exists. It should have been removed from the game because it adds nothing, but whatever. After that, you drive through this obstacle course that looks like it was made by a 3-year-old in GTA 5, and I actually think the GTA 5 ones are better, which is very sad, but true. You finally make it to what I actually call the boss, this big clown giraffe. It seriously has a case of ET neck. When I first played this, I had no idea what was going on. I was flying around in Talon, which does take some time to get used to since the flying controls are not very good in this game. It feels very unnatural, as I've previously said. You need to disable these flying tooth mech warriors, pick them up with a big magnet, and drop them into the giraffe's head. This battle is difficult mainly due to how awkward controlling Talon is, and figuring out what you're doing at first. I think Calypso tells you before the battle starts, but who wants to listen to his little bitch ass? Not me. Having all these teeth flying around shooting you while attempting to reacquaint yourself with the Talon's controls is really frustrating. Dropping the bomb and missing it can be annoying because if you miss it, you need to destroy another mech warrior and go through the same process again. It's funny how the later 2 2012 bosses took the most annoying part of Warhawk and brought it back. Needing to keep doing something tedious, blowing up tankers, bringing people to a nuke missile thing, now shooting teeth mech warriors and dropping them into a giraffe's head. It's just a side tangent, but what's wrong with Minion from Twisted Metal 2? You guys clearly weren't trying to make a more expansive game since the core tournament of 2012 is essentially the same thing it always has been with all the other entries before it, just killing enemies until a level ends. I don't see a need for all this. If you're going for a simple story structure, just make the bosses similar to Darktooth and Minion from Twisted Metal 2. They're intimidating, they're tough, and memorable. I just feel like Iron Maiden and Carnival of Carnage are just out of place for the experience being brought to the player. If the overall game was more expansive, stuff like this would make a lot more sense. The core tournament wasn't innovated on, it's the same thing it always has been, so why even bother making stuff like this? Most players find these to be annoying and a bad experience. That just begs the question if these bosses are truly the worst. Honestly, no, I don't think so. Most people would assume yes, for sure these must be. Like, yeah, they're annoying. Both of them have issues not making you ever want to play them again. Hell, I don't ever want to play them again. They suck and neither of them are fun. I'm not required to do them since this game doesn't have the traditional tournament format, so they are ignored. All 3 of the bosses I've mentioned so far are definitely D-tier fights without a doubt. Towards the bottom of the list, just the steaming, stinky garbage area. But this final fight that we're going to talk about is much worse than any of the ones we've already mentioned. Funnily enough, it doesn't even have anything extra and it's not expansive, it's just a regular boss fight that you'd expect from Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal Small Brawl is more of a classic style game. There are no boss fights that have interesting mechanics, panels to break, tankers to destroy, just simple shooty shoot bosses. Trapper and Piecemeal. Simple enough, but when you fight them you'll notice something. You barely do any damage, regardless of what you shoot or lay waste into them. They just don't die. Darkseid is one of the only characters who mitigates this because he's brokenly overpowered. There's other strategies too, but that's besides the point. Them being the bosses, of course, they have damaging special weapons, especially Trapper, who can instantly kill you if the monkeys start going too crazy. Ramming damage from them is high. They can also shield, which is really annoying. When you're fighting someone who has the health of these goofballs, you'd expect them not to have the ability to do that, but they do, and they can just block your damage, and it pisses you off. It really will. Both of these fights are in the same vein to me. I just want to focus on Piecemeal more. Trapper is lightweight shit comparatively, but shares similar issues. When you reach Now Slaying, the final level of your tournament playthrough, you always fight 4 characters. Once a car is destroyed, Piecemeal spawns in, you do 25% of his health, then he despawns, you kill another car, rinse and repeat. What is so bad about this? Well, having the issues I mentioned earlier with the ridiculous health pool, the ability to shield, and giving him the ability to use every special weapon in the game is quite frustrating. If he uses Dark Sides, for example, he will do buckets of damage to you. Twister and Mr. Slam specials can be really irritating as well. So you're going against this heavily armored monster that has all this power while you're driving around like a bitch looking for weapons to use in battle. But guess what, chump? There aren't any weapons to use in battle because you can't pick any up since this level has no pickups. Offhand, I believe you only have 5 to 6 pickups in the whole level. That's assuming enemies don't pick them up or Piecemeal doesn't pick them up either. You constantly run out of weapons and spend a lot of your time driving around aimlessly, hoping nobody kills you and something spawns in for you to attack with. Funnily enough, in these situations, having Piecemeal on the field makes your waiting simulator become easier since it's only one enemy trying to kill you and not 3. So this fight drags and drags. Seriously, 70% of your time on both bosses is you just waiting for a weapon to respawn. Not to mention how power missile happy both bosses are. These things get tossed out left and right, and if you're anywhere in their vicinity, which is even worsened on hard mode, which we will definitely touch on that for a second, we're just touching on normal mode for the time being. It's no joke. Even on normal mode, which mind you is not very difficult, sure you might die if you might mess around and do stupid things, most people can beat it with ease, maybe 30-35 minutes at maximum. The Piecemeal and Trapper fight are both over half of that time. Piecemeal on normal mode takes about 15 minutes to beat sometimes because of how egregious the waiting is. You think that's bad with Snorthawk, the waiting 30 seconds or so for stuff to cooperate with you? No, bitch. It's expanded upon tenfold here. I cannot describe how unbelievably boring this boss fight is for this reason alone. It's fine to wait during boss battles if you're avoiding an attack or if it's some strategy or whatever. Here there are no strategies you need. There's no phases, there's no shields, it's just a traditional minion style battle. Just shoot them until they're dead and then you win the computer game. You're just waiting for pickups. It's a massive issue with the level, it doesn't have any weapons on it, which is a perfect moment to talk about hard mode. And this is really where things start to get messed up. These bosses on normal mode take an obnoxious amount of time to defeat. 15-minute piecemeal fights, like, get real. No one wants to do that. It's more of a test of patience rather than a test of someone's skill level, which is what a boss fight is supposed to be about at the end of the day. On hard mode, these take so long to the point my attention span starts to fade away. I'm out to lunch, so bored thinking about what I'm going to eat tomorrow during this boss battle because of how ridiculous his health is. It is disgusting. For reference, power missiles, right? They're the best weapon in this whole game. Insane damage. The bosses spam these too, obviously, so that's fine. You'll get these rammed up your asshole the whole time. Have fun with that. Your goal is to try to spam them yourself. Every time you get a pickup, 2 are acquired. Trapper almost takes 30 to kill on hard mode. Again, this is a boss that has the ability to instantly kill you with their special and shield themselves. I've had moments with Trapper trying to get over this task of winning. He kills me when he's got about like 10% health left, and that's probably about 10 minutes of time that takes. So you know what that means when you game over? You need to do the whole level all over again, and then you need to fight his punk ass, sitting there waiting for more drops to spawn. This is even worse with Piecemeal since that level has even less of a preparation time since the overall level is smaller and has less weapons in it. Even still, stocking up on weapons from previous levels is the right move, but of course you need to use them on the smaller enemies to make him spawn. And what if you get bad RNG? You're fighting Darkside, Hammerhead, Mr. Slam, and whoever else. Most of your inventory will be expended just killing these guys and not on the bosses himself. And then if you die, you need to restart the level and all of your weapons are gone. So if you get bad RNG, then it makes this process even more difficult. Sure, you can go back and load the save to keep your weapons, but it just ends up taking more time, which is the biggest problem here. The amount of time wasted battling these guys. I've never been so bored fighting anything in my life in any game I've ever played. It's actually unreal how disgusting both of these battles are. Piecemeal can actually take you 45 minutes to kill. I am not even joking. 45 minutes on hard mode. And if you die, you need to restart the level after trying to win for that long. Who on earth is going to want to do that again? No one. The lengths of these fights is the simple reason I don't ever want to play Small Brawl on hard mode. It makes me sick to think about. As I said, these are a test of patience rather than a test of skill. You could be the greatest player since sliced bread, but if you're sitting there snoring during the battle because you're so goddamn bored waiting for weapons to respawn, driving in donuts, what does that make you? A chump. I get there's some strategies. Some characters work really well against these bosses. I mentioned Darkside earlier. Thumper is another one who's good against the bosses, and he has this weird bug with his special, it glitches, making this really obnoxious sound effect, doing loads of damage to Piecemeal or Trapper. This doesn't take away from the core issues that I mentioned. You can't do that with every character in the game. So the ones that you can't do these cheese tactics with, you're out of luck. Snorhawk, Iron Maiden, Carnival of Carnage are all terrible boss battles, but they don't take you over 45 minutes to win. Even on normal, they don't endlessly drag to the point you're driving in circles waiting for something to happen. With Boarhawks, yeah, you gotta wait, maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute intervals, which is not that bad. Sure, the fight drags on, just like the other ones I mentioned, they all pale in comparison to this. I picked Piecemeal as my number 1 example, but Trapper, as I said, has the same issues as Piecemeal. They're both bullet sponges with the ability to kill you in seconds. It's clearly not balanced properly. Their health pools should be much lower than what they are. I always use Twisted Metal 2 Minion as an example. Even though I don't like that game, the bosses are amazing. Minion is a fight you feel intimidated by. He can kill you in seconds, but you feel like there's a chance. Your damage isn't as shallow as a puppy dog's piss puddle. He's not shielding your attacks, taking 30 power missiles to kill. There are plentiful amounts of weapons and other things you can do around the map. There's places to hide and there's strategies to use. You're not just driving around in a circle, waiting for stuff to spawn in. Both of these small brawl bosses are mindless, drawn out, boring fights that aren't engaging. Not fun, not anything. I simply never want to do them. There's no positives about either one. At least Trapper does have some glitchy pathing and sometimes he just won't move so you can eat food, drink, or watch a video while you wait for the power missile to respawn. I love Small Brawl, but holy crow, these bosses are for sure the worst in the entire franchise to me. I'm curious to hear what everyone else's worst boss pick is. Do you think it's the Small Brawl ones, maybe Snorhawk, or a boss I didn't mention here? Make sure to leave a comment with your boss rankings below.
What is going on, little man? It's Axel here, coming in to thank all of the channel members. If you want to be a cool guy like the rest of these fine people, go ahead and join the channel and spam stupid emotes in chat. Thanks for watching, babies.